As a child, Ricardo Flores moved away from apartment-filled city heights where his extended family lived to the relative quiet of single-family homes in Rancho San Diego. Flores says he stuck out.
In my neighborhood, it was pretty much white kids, and I was the only black or brown person. And then when I'd go visit my cousins, it was only people of color.
At the time, he never questioned why that was. He thinks most people don't.
We honestly probably don't even understand how we're living here and others are living over there. We just assume that it's because we went to college, we worked hard, our parents did the same. But in reality, it's much deeper than that. It's much more sinister than that, actually.
Sinister, Flores says, because that separation between people of color and white people was intentional. Berkeley created one of the first zoning laws in 1916. White neighbors wanted to push out 2 Japanese-owned laundries, a Chinese-owned laundry, and a dance hall mostly used by Black people. So they enforced residential zoning in those locations. A year later, the Supreme Court ruled racial zoning unconstitutional. But in some ways, it didn't matter. Single-family zoning worked just as well to segregate. San Diego adopted it in 1923. In some neighborhoods, developers can build apartments or duplexes, affordable to non-white residents who tend to be less wealthy. The rest of residential land is restricted to less affordable single-family homes. Planners managed to segregate San Diego without saying the word race. Berkeley researchers wanted to understand the impact of the last 100 years of zoning in San Diego, so they categorized every plot in the city. Turns out, single-family-only zoning takes up most of the residential land, 81%. Those areas are wealthier and whiter with higher home prices, and they engage in something researcher Samir Gambier calls resource hoarding.
The non-single-family zones have fewer resources, fewer good schools, and large commute times. And that really restricts the wealth generation.
Under zoning, zip codes became powerful predictors of someone's education, income, health, even how long they live. Cities across the country have voted to end single-family zoning in recent years, including Berkeley. But Gambier's co-researcher, Joshua Cantong, says it's an uphill battle.
I don't know if we can underestimate how powerful homeowner resistance is to retaining single-family zoning, because generally, white, affluent, male, older constituents are more involved in planning processes.
In other words, it's often white, wealthy homeowners who can go to city meetings and argue their side. Flores says the reasons they give for pushback have changed over the years.
First, it was, you're in a fire hazard. No, that's not true. You're going to destroy land values. No, that's not true.
He says the main argument now is that it will change the quote-unquote character of neighborhoods.
You're going to change the look of my neighborhood. What I would wonder is, are they talking about the buildings? Because we can replicate buildings.
The buildings, he questions, or the people? Regardless of the reasons, Flores says San Diego, exploding with population growth, can't afford to hold on to old zoning restraints.
Here we are 1.3 million, and we have this antiquated zoning policy. And we see it in homelessness. We see it in skyrocketing housing prices, over $1 million. We see it in segregation.
He fought for a proposal to end single-family zoning in about half of San Diego, but the Planning Commission voted in August to hold it back for workshopping. He says it could create affordable housing for middle-income earners, free up existing apartments for lower-income earners, limit urban sprawl, and slow climate change. And, he says, it could finally fulfill a goal of the civil rights movement: integration.
We have a segment of our society that does not grow up with people of color. And then they achieve power and other status, and they reinforce those bad decisions because they don't grow up with people that are different than them.
Flores plans to continue rallying support for the proposal before bringing it back to the commission. Katie Hyson, KPBS News.